Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Monday edition of Moohead Radio. I'm your host, suntanned Mr. Moohead. It's been fun. I've been riding my power trike in the afternoons, about 10 miles today. I think what a lot of fun that is. It's a motorized recumbent trike. I'm having a ball with this thing, riding all over the place and pedaling my legs off. So I'm like crippled, and it's great. Actually walking 3 miles in the morning and then riding 10 miles in the afternoon. I'm trying to get fit. Welcome to the show. We got a few things to talk about today, don't we? I know people want me to talk about the Cleveland Browns victory, and I'm going to do that. And the league, NBA, has come out with the final 2 minutes report claiming that Richard Jefferson should have been called for a foul against Kevin Durant, which would de facto have given them that game. And also that LeBron James should have been called for a technical for his multiple chin-ups after his slam dunk on the rim. Before we get into the Cleveland Browns, I want to answer the Cleveland Cavaliers issue first. Now, I'm sure you watched the game because everyone in fucking America watched the game, and it was quite a game. It was a very entertaining game. Right off the top, I mean, if I were doing like a Cavaliers post-game show, I would say the Cavaliers shot 39% and still beat the Golden State Warriors. The Cavaliers were shooting 35%, and the Warriors were shooting 50%. Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Yeah. How come you're not showing on camera, though?
Why not?
Oh, there you are. Okay. Now you are. Okay, good.
Okay.
Yeah, there's just a big delay on you because you're kind of real, your connection sucks there. I don't know what, I think
it's
you
been
need.
Raining all week. I lost power for about 8 hours on Saturday.
I believe you're not getting what you're supposed to be getting in your connection because you're running a Wi-Fi thing and unless you do a speed test, you're not getting what you're paying for because
right.
It should, I mean, you look way worse than I do in South Carolina. And South Carolina, I got no connection. But this year in South Carolina, did I tell you, we're getting broadband finally.
Yeah.
It's not Fios, actually, it's Charter Communications, but we're getting 60 Mbps download. And it's like, yes, and 5 upload, yes. I feel like Marv Albert and want to wear women's underwear. It's awesome.
Yeah, I'm supposed to have unlimited everything. So, but it's AT&T. You know how they are. They're trash. So.
Yeah, they're the wrong choice.
Do you want me to restart my computer, or is it okay, or is it straightening out, or no?
No, it's not straightening out. I just hope I don't lose you. But yeah, it looks to me as if you're just kind of moving in slow motion. But we'll kind of deal with it as we go.
All right. You're not missing anything.
No, as long as I can hear you and the people watching can hear you, it's fine. Here's the deal. We were shooting 35%, and they were shooting 50%. We were only 5 points down in that game. We ended up shooting 39%, and we still won the game. And Golden State and Kevin Durant are whining about the non-call on Richard Jefferson, which the league has backed them up on, saying that Jefferson pushed him in the back and should have been called for a foul at the end of the game. To which I say, I looked at the play. I can tell you why the call wasn't made, because he did push with his left hand. I mean, I don't think there's any question that Richard Jefferson kind of allowed Kevin Durant's momentum to carry him to the ground by giving him a little extra help. But that particular play, with 3.4 seconds left, gave the ball to Kevin Durant, and he was going in the wrong direction. And you're never going to get a call if you're not going to the basket or you're not in a shooting motion. And he couldn't be in a shooting motion because his back was turned to the basket. It was a horrible inbounds play, and it didn't work. And I think the reason that RJ didn't get called for the foul is because the guy wasn't going forward, and he didn't have an opportunity to even shoot the basketball. That's one. They also said LeBron James should have been called for a technical foul for doing multiple chin-ups on the rim after he slam dunked the ball, which is true. You're not allowed to do that, and that should have been a technical foul. Now I'm going to go earlier in the game, when Kevin Durant dunked twice on Kevin Love, yelling out, calling Kevin Love a motherfucker and staring him down after he dunked the ball. This is verified by the press. This is not me making this up. He referred to Kevin Love as a motherfucker after dunking, and he dunked twice on him and stared him down. And then they ended up calling RJ for a technical foul for winking and smiling at Durant.
That was so stupid. That was so stupid.
After he threw down, we watched Draymond Green run DeAndre Liggins over and not get a call. But the one that bothers me the most is that the league claims that there were no other mistakes in the final 2 minutes of that basketball game, and that's an absolute fabrication. There are two rules that I want to bring up in the NBA, and this is just the vagaries of the game. If a guy gets the ball and he's in a shooting motion and he gets fouled, he gets free throws. If he's fouled so hard that he's injured, he still has to shoot the free throws, no matter how injured he is. If he breaks his leg, twists his ankle, suffers a concussion, or whatever, he must shoot the free throws, or else he cannot come back in the game. So if he has a stinger, a temporary thing where his shoulder is hurt, he still has to shoot the basketball for the free throws, because if he comes out of the game, he can't go back in the game. That's rule number one in the NBA. Rule number two is you cannot substitute a player without a timeout on the floor. That's a fact. Now, I want to point out a couple of things of how the referees did fuck this game up. And the fact is, there were many things that they did in the final 2 minutes. And the first one really is the shot clock that went off on I can't believe I'm blanking.
I don't even remember who it was either, but they was
no.
Are you talking about when they reviewed it because they ran out of time?
Klay Thompson. God, I'm just getting old. But here's the deal. They throw the ball around and the clock's running out, and they had a chance with approximately 36 seconds left in the game to get up a good shot, and they never got a shot off. All right. The ball ended up in Klay Thompson's hands in the corner, and he was 1.5 seconds late. I mean, it wasn't close.
Right.
Tell you the first thing that the referees missed. Kyrie Irving shoved Andre Iguodala in the back right in front of the shooter before he shot the ball. Now, whether that foul took place before the shot clock went off or not, because I know for a fact that Kyrie Irving was concerned because Klay Thompson was kind of briefly open in the corner. Nothing was called on that, and Iguodala was complaining about that. Here's the second thing. It was so obvious that the shot clock had expired, they should never have looked at the review. Here's why. That gave Cleveland an advantage because it was a de facto timeout, and Cleveland had no timeouts, nor did Golden State. So it gave both teams an opportunity, Golden State to check out their defense, and the Cavaliers gave them time to talk about what they wanted to do offensively. And that is part of what happens when and it took them forever to find out what everybody knew, that the shot was shot a second and a half after the shot clock went off. The other thing is that during that same period of review, Steve Kerr took Steph Curry out of the game.
That was an illegal move, wasn't it?
Illegal. It's an immediate technical foul. It's an immediate technical foul. You cannot substitute a player where there is no timeout. Just because the clock had been stopped for a review, that is not a timeout. Now, the fact that it benefited Cleveland to talk about what they wanted to do offensively, you cannot break the rules of the game. I mean, there's nothing that the league says it's against the rules if the Cleveland Cavaliers players want to kind of stroll close to the sideline while they're reviewing this thing. There's no law against that. However, substitution is a completely different issue. You're not allowed to substitute a player in a non-timeout situation. He wanted to sub out Curry, who's obviously, even in Steve Kerr's mind, a weakness, a deficit defensive player, to put somebody else in the game. And then with 3.4 seconds left, he resubbed Curry back into the game. Taking him out should have been an immediate technical foul. It would have been one free throw for the Cavaliers. They still could have tied the game, but they didn't have the ball either. So it kind of a moot point. There were a lot of calls that were blown in this basketball game. But the bottom line is this. When you look at the last 9 minutes and 23 seconds of that basketball game, and I have over and over and over, and you score 14 points, and Draymond Green literally shrivels up like Bob Dole's dick in a cold shower and refuses to shoot the basketball. Kevin Durant goes cold. They make bonehead plays and start running around like chickens with their heads cut off, letting Kyrie Irving steal the ball from them, giving up inbounds plays basically that allowed LeBron James to back cut and slam dunk the ball. If you look at everything that the Golden State Warriors did not do in the fourth quarter, the only thing they did do is blow a 14-point lead. They did just enough to lose. And I have no sympathy for teams that do just enough to lose. So all I want to say about that is that the correct team won. The team that showed up in the crunch won the game. The team that was having a bad shooting night won the game because they played harder, they played tougher defense. And one last thing I want to mention, which is everyone wants to talk about Draymond Green. He's ghetto trash, and I have nothing to say about him because guy's got it's just a fuck of an attitude. I just don't like him. Right?
He's a dirty player. He's a terrible player.
You're not supposed to like him. So, I mean, I fall into the big broad category of people who don't like Draymond Green. But Steph Curry is a different story. Steph Curry hits 2 threes the entire game, one with 1 minute and 14 seconds left in the game. When he made that shot with 1 minute and 14 seconds left in the game, I thought he was going to whip his penis out and start stroking himself. This man is in love with himself. His image is now more important than the type of player that he is. And that has never been the case with LeBron James. LeBron James puts player first. What kind of skill level is a player? Steph Curry is a manufactured baby face, as I would say in professional wrestling, of the NBA. He is a non-threatening guy who's got big doe eyes and who is the friendly face that the NBA wants to portray. They make him the most valuable creature on earth. And he makes this three-point shot after doing nothing the entire game because he was being held scoreless by DeAndre Liggins, a D-League guy who was chasing him all over hell and back and making his life miserable. All right. You thought it was just Delly who could make him miserable? No, any D-League player, if he's willing to run around with him, is going to give him trouble. He's not that good, folks. If you really dedicate a man to running around with him, you know, he gets frustrated and he starts launching weird-looking shots. Or in this case, he stops shooting altogether and he starts throwing illegal screens. I don't know if you saw what he was doing, but he's this little shrimp of a guy. And in order to throw screens, he had to put his shoulder and wrap his arms around people to throw a screen. Totally illegal. You can't do that on screens. You can't hold. And he ends up preening. And I'll do the Steph Curry.
Yeah, that was so pathetic.
And this, the bobblehead thing.
Look at me.
Look, I'm so cool. Look,
And
wait
he
a minute.
checked out completely.
Wait a minute. Let me check out my Fitbit. Oh yeah, my heart rate's good. Yeah. You know, it's like there's 1 minute and 15 seconds left in the game, you dumb fucker. It's like Kyrie Irving's gonna beat your ass again. Don't you see this happening? You can't be that stupid after Game 7. He is. He's that stupid because his image is more important to him than winning the game. And he was just wanted to drink in all the affection of all the cameras shooting him that, oh, look at me, I'm Sandra D. I just made the big shot. And they end up losing the game. So fuck Steph Curry. He's a manufactured image. And yes, they're a good team, but they're still not good enough if they don't play.
They're sore loser.
4 quarters. You got to play 4 quarters in order to win. And this was a close game throughout, and Cleveland had a miserable shooting game. But lots of props to DeAndre Liggins for following him around, for Steph Curry around. But both teams didn't shoot well from three-point range. RJ had a miserable game until he redeemed himself with 2 thunder dunks. And Kyrie was having a miserable game until he had a big fourth quarter. So the stars aligned correctly. The Cavaliers won. All right.
Before the fourth quarter started, I kind of had a feeling that Kyrie would step it up and just blow him out of the water. And then toward the end of the game, with the last few minutes, It almost felt like Game 7. Kyrie was going to stick it to him, and that was going to be it. And it kind of came together the way it did. But State is not only afraid of the Cavs, but they're completely threatened by them personally. Their manhood has been stomped on by the Cavs at every turn they've had. You can tell by the way that they whine and cry in their press conferences. You can tell by the way they make sorry excuses that are completely congruous to the games, and the way that they act both on the court and off. They're terrified. They're like the loudmouth little boy. It's hard, but in reality, he goes home and cries every night in his bed. I mean, they're a pathetic group of men, and it's hilarious to me to see them get the floor wiped with all of their disgusting, ugly faces every time they come to Cleveland. It was beautiful, and I love the way that they came back. That was pure Cleveland. That was pure Cavs, and making that final play. LeBron wasn't taking that final shot. LeBron wasn't the one that needed to be the star of the game. Kyrie was the one that did it, and you knew you could count on him, and it was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. Now your audio is starting to stutter too. So you might want, but I want to talk about this football game, and I don't want to lose you. How long does it take you to get If
I restart my computer, it takes a little under 5 minutes.
Oh boy. All right. Yeah, because your audio is starting to struggle as well. Why don't you restart it? Okay. And I will hold on for you and talk a little bit more about the basketball game, because we want to get to the football game. And I know you have a lot to say because of your superchargers. So go ahead and start it over and jump in. Okay.
All right. Okay.
All right. So I'm going to continue on about a little bit about the basketball game. I'm not one who's a believer in excuses. All right. You can blame the refs. And I mean, the fact they do these 2-minute reports, and there's always something on the 2-minute reports, it leads me to believe that referees regularly mangle things. And you're right, Tony, they did actually I looked that up now, and I see that Kevin Durant panicked and didn't use the timeout that they had left. So again, when you're going away from the basket on an inbounds pass, when you only have 3.4 seconds left to go in a game, you didn't run a very good inbounds play. So any way you look at it, they played lousy down the stretch, and they deserve to lose. And if you're looking to blame the referees, there were plenty of calls during the course of that game, or no calls, that were really questionable. And really the things that were most egregious to me is if you're going to get a wink and a smile technical, then Durant throwing down jams, calling Kevin Love a motherfucker, that to me is more egregious. I mean, I'd like things to be a little more even-handed. I like the game when they let the players play. I don't like technical fouls. I like flagrant fouls when it's obvious that somebody's headhunting. I don't like these flagrant reviews where it happened the other night in the Cavs game, where a guy just brought his arm over and he was just not athletic enough to stop LeBron James, and he took a swing at the ball, and LeBron was too quick for him, and his arm was late and kind of caught LeBron, just brushed him in the side of the head. It's not a flagrant foul. There's a big difference between trying to wipe somebody out, making a play on the ball, and making a play on the man. That really is a big difference. And I see Tony's jumping in here just to breach the gap, so to speak, for Michelle to come back and talk about the football game. Tony, I'm glad that you're here. How you doing? You got no sound. Got no sound, Tony. Your microphone needs to be reset up, because there is no sound for Tony. No sound. Nope. No sound for Tony. There, wait, I heard something. No, damn it. You're just messing with me. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. There, boy, turn that microphone on.
Does that sound? Can you hear?
Yeah, now I hear you fine.
Okay. With my weight, that's a big breach to breach the gap. But anyways,
believe me, us big guys, we're the ones who do the breaching and the gapping. The basketball game, I hate it when excuses are made on these types of things, because look, you take this as 48 minutes and you take it as a totality, and you take a look and say, this game was razor thin. Golden State had the lead for all but 42.8 seconds of the basketball game and managed to find a way to lose this basketball game. I'm not pointing to the officials. I'm saying both teams had opportunities to play better than they did. I thought Cleveland played smarter and harder than Golden State did, and I do not understand Steph Curry. I do not understand that at all. And I still don't think that Kevin Durant is the man to carry them to be the appointed one with the ball in his hand. He has not had that kind of success with the Oklahoma City Thunder. He's a prolific scorer, but I don't think he's a clutch guy. Hey, and Michelle's back.
You seem to be in sync now when you're talking to me too. So
yeah,
is that a little better?
Well, not really, but your audio is, and that's really, we're going to use you for your audio.
That's fine.
You get down. Tony's with us too, so you go ahead and say what you have to say about the Cleveland Browns football game, Michelle.
Oh, I don't want to go on a rant. I just want to talk about it. But I'm agitated that they won. I'm actually agitated because they did the exact opposite of what I expected them to do, which was make San Diego confident again in themselves and let Phillip Rivers be the caliber quarterback that he is career-wise. And Tony, you're killing me with whatever background is coming out of your microphone.
I'm not doing anything. I'm just sitting here.
I think he farted. Go ahead.
I really expected them to blow Cleveland out of the water. I expected absolutely no turnovers, which there weren't. No sacks either recorded against Phillip Rivers. But there was one turnover. There was one at the beginning of the game. But the way they came out, and that 50-yard pass from the get-go is exactly what I expected the entire game to be. I don't know where the Browns came from, but I don't consider this some kind of giant win for them. They practically blew the game on something that we've done many times before, and that's on a kicker. Josh Lambo has been thrown under the bus here on the news, and everywhere in San Diego, they are embarrassed that they lost to the Browns. They are embarrassed to be that team that gave it up because they expected to win this too. Now, if I go home in 30-degree weather, I'm probably not going to be top-notch either. I'm not going to feel very well. I'm not going to feel like running, and I'm sure shit not going to be able to do anything with my hands or my legs. So they have excuses, but under the wire, and you can't do that. You can't let it come down to the last final seconds of the game because
neither team can. I mean, let's be honest about this. I mean, the name of this show is three deserving losers and one true winner. The Cavaliers deserve to win because they stayed the course and they did what they had to do at crunch time, and Kyrie made a huge shot. The Cleveland Browns, in no way, shape, or form, did anything themselves to really win this football game, with the exception of Jamie Meter. Give Jamie Meter credit. He blocked a kick that should have been the game ender, and instead we couldn't even protect our quarterback. He gets sacked twice. Cody Kessler, Griffin's gone again because he's already got encephalopathy, and this is it. I mean, we did everything we could to hand the game back to San Diego, and San Diego just handed it back to us. That's the
and
worst.
The referees were handing it to us as well with all of those penalties.
I've never seen
ridiculous.
In the beginning of the game, I couldn't believe it. We haven't gotten calls like that all year, and it's like, wow, somebody in the league wants the O to go because we certainly didn't earn anything that I saw on that football field. The only thing that I can say is that McCoy is gone as the coach of San Diego. Oh, yeah. I mean, he chose the players, didn't play smart, they didn't play intelligently, and they didn't get things done when they needed to get things done. And they had the ultimate opportunity to, in essence, get into overtime, which they would have won in because we couldn't, the entire second half, our offensive line stopped working. The Browns' offensive line stopped blocking in the second half of the football game. I don't know if anyone else noticed that, but it was like the second half, nobody showed up. It's like, okay, we scored as many points as we're going to score. That's about it. This isn't a win.
If they hadn't missed that first field goal, it wouldn't have come down to the final seconds anyway. But if he would have had maybe 1 or 2 more seconds on the field to get set, I firmly believe Lambeau makes that.
Yeah, but I mean, the fact that they didn't have the timeout in the end, and the fact that they had to run it so close to the wire at the end, I mean, this is just a collection of mistakes. It's kind of like, excuse me, no, you can have the game. No, excuse me, you can have the game. I mean, I don't consider this a win. And Hugh Jackson breaking down and crying as if there's a triumph here.
God, that's pathetic.
I mean, this is not a win.
Ball like it's some kind of giant triumph, like they won 41-0. They're handing him the ball. This is for you for sticking with us. Are you kidding me? I would be so sick of looking at that guy's face weekend after weekend, knowing damn well that he's not the kind of leader that this team needs to pull them out of the gutter, but to dedicate it to him like he's done something crazy, keeping them all together and keeping them on some kind of wild track where they're all focused and ready to win. It's ridiculous. It was absolutely ludicrous. The whole locker room spiel was embarrassing, and just as embarrassing as the win. You know, we always say, hey, an ugly win is still a win. No, that was pathetic. That was just plain pathetic.
Tony, what do you think?
I laughed the whole time because I watched that instead of the Vikings because, like I said in the past, I don't give a fuck about the Vikings. But it was just, I've never seen people celebrating mediocrity.
No,
right. Exactly.
And then,
how about the Haslams up in the box acting like they were the Super Bowl?
The Haslam, fucking woohoo!
I was wishing that Jim Brown would have stood up and dumped her right over the balcony because she was acting like such a freaking fool up there.
And then I log on to Twitter and I see all these people, oh, who cares? We blew the number 1 pick, but we're winning. Woohoo! And then 20 minutes later, they get gifted the number 1 pick back. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and now they're going to turn around and beat Pittsburgh and fuck up.
Oh my! If they beat Pittsburgh, I swear to God.
Yeah, I mean, this is...
No, and they will beat Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh clinched the division, and so they're not going to waste their time putting any starters out there next week. They're going to play their B-roll, and we're going to actually get another win, which I figured would be the first win of the season after they clinched yesterday against Baltimore. That's exactly what's going to happen. They're going to get a trash win, and everybody's going to think it means something, and it doesn't.
Right. You know what it's like? They never show Jimmy and Dee Haslam in the booth at the end of the game. You notice that? I mean, because if they did, here's what you would be seeing. You'd be like, now. I mean, it's like, put the fucking gun to your head, Dee. Put the gun to your head, Jimmy. And instead, what we got is, woo! I told you we're going to win. Woo! You know, it's like, you go back to the truck stop, you stupid fucking jerk somebody off. We don't have time. We don't have time for this in a real city. Go back to Tennessee and do whatever, you know, steers and queers, whatever they do there, you go ahead and do. But man,
it was embarrassing.
You can't be cheering this. I mean, you know, and the players coming out on the field falling on their knees. It was, you know what it was like? It was like some kind of a Twisted Rudy movie ending. It's like, what the fuck? This is, I mean, there's no.
And you know that never happened, by the way. That moment that makes grown men cry for some stupid reason, that never happened. Rudy's a dick in real life, and I will reiterate that point every chance I get.
Rudy's a fucking insurance salesman who walked on and never got to do shit, and he never sacked a quarterback, and he never did dick. So, but the bottom line is neither the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns are 0-16 in my mind. Doesn't make any difference. I don't count this. I don't count this as a win. This is nothing that turns the season around, makes me feel any better about Hugh Jackson, makes me feel any better about the front office. What it does is it makes me realize that these guys were so scared of losing that by accident when they won, it was like this collective catharsis, you know. It was like women swooning in Clark Gable and Gone with the Wind. It was like the fucking womanly kind of attitude.
It was so bitchy, wasn't it? It was so ladylike, the way they all turned into puddles of.
Make it stop, Tony! Make it stop!
I just look. I see fucking the reports of Joe Thomas and Hugh Jackson sitting in the locker room, just bawling like their fucking new puppy just got ran over by a truck over winning one game in a 1-15 season. I mean, it's just, oh man.
It's embarrassing. But you know what? The plus side for me is I can wear my brown shit out without getting crapped on around here. Anybody that gives me anything can be like, you're the losers that gave us that win. You guys are the pathetic pieces of crap that gave an 0-16 team its first win of the season. Congratulations. You can't make fun of me anymore.
And to me, it's inexplicable how the Chargers could allow that to happen.
I mean, Rivers to Gates, it's one of the greatest combinations in all of the AFC, and yet every week, no matter what they do, they can't keep it together. They can't keep it together. And they both put up amazing numbers every week. They're hitting record books every week, quietly losing games.
Well, and they had that final drive, you fucking 4th and what was it, 16, and all of a sudden Rivers just fucking lobs it downfield. Gates is open for 30 yards. And you're like,
nobody covered him. Nobody covered him off
comes.
the line of scrimmage. Kirksey said, "I'm passing him on to Casper, the friendly ghost." There is nobody behind him. The one guy, the announcer, before the play says, "This is the moment they're going to go to Antonio Gates." And you think that the fucking Browns would say, "Whatever you do, cover Antonio Gates." And then I said, you know what? Before that play, I turned to my wife and I said, "There's going to be a miscommunication and Gates is going to be wide open." And it happened. And she looked at me like, "Oh my God, you're prophetic." I said, "Better that than being prophylactic." And she said, "How did you know that was going to happen?" And I said, "Because
it's
that
the Browns.
It's the way it works." And believe me, after that catch, I'm surprised somebody didn't rip a helmet off and get 15 yards and get him in field goal range. It's what happens here. Yeah, it was terrible. I mean, it was just, it was the worst. And at the end, I'm like the most aggravating person to watch a football game with because I hate the Browns. I hate them now. Right? And so I will do my impersonation of me watching the Browns at crunch time. Oh, they're going to kick the fucking field goal or score a touchdown. They're going to throw a Hail Mary and they're going to score. It doesn't matter. The Browns are going to lose this fucking game. This is me, okay, during the game, right? And I just keep on with the negativity. And finally, and all past weeks, when a team has a 57-yard field goal to win the game and they kick it and it goes through, and it started with Butch Davis. I remember when Butch Davis came to Cleveland, everyone was so excited because Butch Davis came from a winning football program, right? And so he was a winner, right? And so the first game that Butch Davis coached was against the Seattle Seahawks, and they kicked a 54-yard field goal at the clock to beat him. And the look on his face was like, it's like, Toto, we're not in Kansas anymore. It's like, you're in Cleveland, you stupid fuck. You're not some god of coaching. You're just another guy who's a piece of shit in Cleveland. So every time a kicker lines up and he hits the ball, Tony, you're going to love this because because I'm the most aggravating person in the world. You know that. The second the foot hits the ball, I go, good, it's good. And it's like, start that.
Right.
So I start that shit, right? Because, honestly, it looked like it was going to be good, And the thing starts sliding to the right. And I'm like, good. And I stopped, and I look like Butch Davis.
Butch Davis is an asshole, too. I met him once, and all I did was said, "Hey, coach, nice to see you." And he goes, "Don't bother me. I'm with my family." And I'm like, fuck you too, asshole.
I did not want to see players running out on the field falling on the ground like Pentecostals. I did not want to see that. And, I wanted to put some kind of cheesy music soundtrack over it and just make fun of it.
Someone put "My Heart Will Go On" over.
Yeah, I saw that. Yo!
It was either that or it could have been the Benny Hill music, the yakety sax music. Yeah. Either way, it's so appropriate because they're just so embarrassing.
I was just so bummed out that kick missed because I know everybody's mad at this 0-16 parade thing.
Yeah.
But I would have flown into fucking town to celebrate that shit. I mean, that would have been once in a lifetime thing right there. Well, fucking Cleveland fans just throwing the parade because they're the worst in the fucking history of mankind.
The 0-16 parade is like the factory of sadness. It's like everything they come up with. Hey, I got a friend here. Look at this.
Hi, puppy. You know what, though? That parade has ended up raising so much money to donate to the Cleveland Food Bank that over, I think, 32,000 families will be fed. So it's pretty awesome.
Well, and apparently, because I talked to Reflog or whatever his name is. I don't know his real name, but
his name's Chris.
He's keeping it open, too, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking, can you imagine how much money they could have made the day of actually having the parade? Having, like, cattles out there like the Salvation Army has?
Doggy.
That's why I was bummed out, because I'm a philanthropic guy.
He's a handsome wolf, isn't he?
Wolfie!
All right. Jade Wolf always wants to be part of the show.
That's Cosmo, isn't it? That's Cosmo.
No, that's Jade Wolf. He's big now.
What?
That was Jade Wolf.
I forgot you got Jade Wolf. I always thought you only had 2 dogs. I fucking totally forgot about Jade Wolf.
Yeah, the third one. Yeah, that's him. He's growing up right before our eyes.
And Jiva's the one that's blue.
Right, that's Blue Dog. That's right.
Yeah.
Dog Wolf. Yeah.
And then Cosmo's the older one. Yeah,
the big one. And I can't even lift him. He's like a fucking barn. It takes Amish people to raise him. I mean, he's like a barn. Yeah, this whole thing has gone too far. Factory of Sadness, 0-16 parade. They come up with all these new fangled ways of describing.
You also hate the Cleveland, it's not that bad, have a beer thing. You know, people embrace the mediocrity. They are, you know, when we were growing up and the whole mistake by the lake thing, it was insulting. And the fact that that doesn't exist anymore because the Indians actually made it to the World Series a few times in our life. And, you know, the fact that they kind of do some work and they're kind of trying to pull it together and they're not just sitting around being shit like the Browns are, it makes the mistake by the lake completely irrelevant. You know, it's like talking about the burning river. It doesn't mean anything anymore. So people have nothing to do, and you figure you embrace the jokes about you, then nobody else can make fun of you. We've always been the butt of jokes. We've always been the butt of Pittsburgh jokes. Now we've got Baltimore to make fun of us for the last 20 years. We've got Cincinnati. You know, what do? The nasty natty. We tell them they're part of Kentucky. They're not even Ohio. We push them away. We've got that state up north that we're always fighting with. Everybody's always got jokes about us, but, you know, you can't shit on the Buckeyes anymore. You really can't shit on the Indians anymore, but you can shit on the Browns. So if we embrace that, I think people feel better about the fact that they're absolute garbage. It's like, I don't know about you, Tom, but I always got picked on, so I always had a comeback for any face I looked at. I was ready to insult you 10 times worse than anything you could possibly say to me.
What were they doing in the locker room after this game? What were they doing? I mean, it's like, and a game ball for Joe Scobert for the one tackle he made in 50 snaps. I mean, what were they doing? I mean, was Ray Horton going, yes, victory? I mean, what were they doing in the locker room after that game? How could anybody?
They were embracing their mediocrity.
I'm sure they were having circle jerks with Tony Rizzo, who wanted to fight people for raising money for charity for this mediocrity parade. But I mean, what?
Well, I mean, it's you know,
the whole thing is pathetic. They should have walked into the locker room quietly, thanked the Lord above for blessing them with a lucky win and for making them, you know, and Detroit gets to keep their perfect 0-16 season. They didn't want the Browns to tread on that any more than anybody else did. So in a way, I feel like this was completely handed to them, like you said before, by the referees and by the Chargers, because the last time they were here in San Diego, they beat them. They blocked our field goal in the last few minutes.
Well, truth be known, the Browns missed a game-winning field goal that Parkey came in his first week. You remember he missed it. We should have won that game. So, yeah. I mean, there was another game. Flip the coin. You win one, you lose one. You know, to me, it doesn't erase the stain of the season. It just doesn't. The bad taste in your mouth is the bad taste in your mouth. And the fans, there was virtually nobody there to celebrate it and cheer it anyway. I mean, this is the only team that can keep John Adams away with his drum. I mean, this team is like the antithesis of the fan magnet. This is the fan repellent. I mean,
I was glad to see an empty stadium because it tells people, especially the front office, the owners, that we are not pleased with the product you're producing and we are not going to take it anymore. An empty stadium to me is a bigger protest than any 0-16 parade could have possibly been.
You want to know what the worst news in all of this is? And really, I'm being open about this because I'm not happy that they won. I'm not happy that they lose. I'm mystified. that Rashard Higgins and Ricardo Lewis, how bad a group of young wide receivers we drafted, that in an 0-16 or 1-15 season, that they get no snaps from the line of scrimmage, no targetings whatsoever, and that Andrew Hawkins and his ilk and Seth DeValve will actually get out on the field before the higher drafted speed wideouts that we got in the last draft. It is pathetic. There isn't anyone who's going to make this team better next year. There isn't a single person who's going to make this team better next year that is currently on the roster.
And Cody Kessler still can't get rid of the ball.
Well, nobody could. I mean, my God, poor RG3. I mean, he was hoping for the ACL to get blown out so he didn't have to face that shit anymore. It was
Hey, it's all good. It's all good. Hugh Jackson came out today and said RG3 is on track to play next Sunday.
Oh, God.
I mean, who hates him? I have no idea, but it doesn't matter. We don't have anybody on the field. Now, granted, we don't have Batonio, and I understand who we don't have, but I'm saying this roster, as it sits right now, there's nobody on this roster who's really going to help us next year. Nobody, and especially from a big play perspective, I hate to say this, but Terrell Pryor is not a number one receiver. He's just not. And,
no, he's the number one receiver on this team because that's all we have.
He's a guy who's a number 2-3 receiver, and we need somebody who is more serious. And Corey Coleman is not a number one receiver. So you need somebody else besides that. And I'm looking at the team as it's set up, and nobody is going to be there to help us. We're going to be just as bad next year as we are this year because there's nobody there to help us.
And speaking of the roster, I don't know why anybody gave a crap about the draft pick because you don't have anybody who drafts with a brain, with an inkling of intelligence. Every draft pick last year was blown. There's absolutely no reason to believe that you're going to bring anybody in that's going to save this team. There's no quarterback in this class that's going to save you. You don't have any receivers. You don't have anybody. There's nothing.
The Mitch Trubisky bandwagon.
Because he's from Menor.
He's from Northeast Ohio. He gets us.
Yeah, he's from Menor. He's going to be the kid that saves us. You know what? I think I've heard that a couple times before. Brady Quinn. Yeah, let's see the picture of him when he was 3 years old at Christmas, dressed in a Browns uniform. What did he do? Nothing. He got to ride the bench for 2 years.
I'd rather have an enema than spend 15 minutes in Mentor. I mean, come on.
Hey, fuck you. That's my hometown. Don't talk shit about Menor. That's where I grew up.
It's where Lenny the cow was too, and I'll tell you something. It does something to people being in Mentor for too long.
Don't talk shit about my hometown. Hey, I mean, I can't be there more than 3 days without wanting to kill myself, but that's because I got out.
That's just it.
But don't talk shit about my hometown. You're not from there. You don't get to talk shit about
it. More than 3 days there or an enema. Which one would you rather have? So?
Depends on how my tummy feels.
Okay. Soapy enema.
Those are pain. You know what? I was the enema queen. I was the only one that could.
Oh, I don't want.
Just like the catheter queen. Hand them to me. I'll take care of them. Bring me your constipated and your enlarged prostates. I'll help you.
Oh, that's mighty large for you. Now, Tony, I wanted to ask you a question, which, and I know you said you didn't want to watch the Vikings, but you have a renegade rogue group of defensive backs in Minnesota who decided that they were not going to do what they were told to do. I mean, really, what do you do with this?
Yeah, I don't know what to believe on this story because there's some outlets are saying that it was the whole game, and then some outlets are saying it was one play, and I just don't know what to think about this.
No, it's been looked at as far as, the guy who was supposed to be covering Jordy Nelson started covering him finally at 2 minutes and 48 seconds of the first quarter. All right. Okay. So it was 3 possessions that they decided to swap up and go the other way. But the fact is that they didn't do what the coach told them. Mike Zimmer's going to get fired. He doesn't have control of the players, but what kind of players are these?
Because he's a really good coach.
Yeah, but what kind of players are these? How does this happen?
I think it's just bad leadership. I mean, Terrence Newman coming from the jailbird Bengals all those years. I mean, you have young guys who just don't understand, rules, and it's just. I don't understand it. I mean, I know the season went sour really fast. You can't stockpile injuries. And I bet you Adrian Peterson had everything to fucking do with that.
No.
I've been screaming for 2 years to get him off the fucking roster.
Yeah, it's just outstayed his welcome. You want to talk about deja vu? Deja vu.
And I'm starting to agree with you, Mo. I know you don't like to take hockey into things, but if it weren't for our hockey team right now, I'd have a hard time trying to watch Minnesota sports.
But
we're getting bad. It's getting bad.
My deja vu is we're at the Quicken Loans Arena, okay?
Yeah.
And it's the fourth quarter, and you got to score points, and you're down 14 points. And it's like, God, there's no way we're coming back against Golden State 14 points down in the fourth quarter. And then you see Mike Brown on the sidelines. You start feeling better. Thank you, Jesus. I mean, I start feeling better. It's like, this is deja vu. Can't score in the fourth quarter in Cleveland. Mike Brown on the sideline, but this time he's with the other team. This is awesome. I can't begin to tell you. Let's play a defensive game, Mike. I'm all for it. I mean, thank you, Jesus.
Right.
It was like
the
a deja vu
about
moment.
It was deja vu. The whole last few minutes of it was even the way we were sitting in the living room watching it. My girlfriend and I were sitting there, and then I stood up and I got all excited because I can't sit down usually. I never sit when I'm watching football, but I couldn't even sit down for the last few minutes of the game. And I started pacing. She's like, "Oh my gosh, this is just like Game 7." And then Kyrie, and then this after the shot clock ran out, and then Kyrie got a shot. It was like, they asked him, did it feel like a playoff game? And of course it didn't feel like a playoff game. And the whole feel of it is just a complete rivalry.
Felt like gravity. It felt like gravity falling down on top of the Golden State Warriors. It was like inevitable. And it was like this feeling of you believe that if Kyrie had sat on the ball, he could have shot it out of his yopa over Thompson and made it with 3.4 seconds left. It was like this inevitability about the whole thing. Is like, oh God, here we are again, and he's going to do it to him again, and he did.
That's glorious.
And you can't tell me they weren't shell-shocked, because the last two possessions, they didn't get a shot off. They were shell-shocked. It's like, mommy, not again, mommy. I mean, it was like,
yeah, watching that shot clock run out was beautiful, because that was their own fault. They're the ones that mismanage the time, which we're used to seeing with the Browns, You know
what I love is, and Jeff Van Gundy, it's like 5 men touching the ball. It's like, well, that time 6 different men touched the ball. The clock ran out. It's like, yeah, isn't the idea you're supposed to get a good shot, not just throw the ball back and forth? I mean,
were they so bummed out about the turnout of that game? Could you hear it? Yeah, Van Gundy's voice the whole time. He was just so agitated when the Cavs came back and when they were doing well. He just hated every second of it. It was hilarious.
yeah. What I want to do is just once, to have, and it's not that the other announcers are really any better, but Van Gundy, just once, it's like, well, we got a timeout in the action. Tell us how you managed to minimize and fuck up Patrick Ewing's career in New York. Go. It's like you're talking about what sets the Cavs should be running. It's like, you don't know. We already saw you coach. And after your stint in New York, I mean, that the old White Man's Club even hired crazy George Karl how many times to coach basketball teams in the NBA? You know how long he stuck around? You know how many times that, you can just look at the different guys who have gotten job after job after job. Don't you find it strange that Jeff Van Gundy had that career in New York and nobody hired him after that? Nobody even came close to hiring that guy.
Yeah, he's interviewed everywhere.
He reminds me of Danny DeVito as the Penguin.
And his fat fuck Mario brother, Stan.
Yeah.
That son of a bitch got hired.
He got hired. Wario than Mario.
Well, but I mean, he even got hired again. Jeff didn't get hired again. So I want to hear from him what offensive set we should be running, because Patrick Ewing, even though Patrick can't read, the problem is, Patrick can't. Patrick, when Patrick's career ended, okay, it was either assistant basketball coach or hope that they were casting extras for that Return to the Planet of the Apes movie, because other than that,
no.
there was nothing that Patrick, you don't remember, Ewing can't read, that was the big chant back when he played against St. John's and against at Providence. The Providence fans would chant, Ewing can't read, and when they asked John Thompson, the coach of Georgetown at the time, is there any truth to that, he equivocated. He could have said, no, Patrick can read. He just said, I just don't think that there's any reason to talk about that. He can't read. Holy shit. Patrick really can't,
my goodness.
I mean, or if they remade 2001 A Space Odyssey, he could do the first scene. I mean,
Mayweather can't read either, can he? He can't read. Floyd Mayweather can't read either.
That wouldn't surprise me, but he's taking blows to the head. But my point in all of this, not to just slander Patrick Ewing.
Are you sure? Because that's what you're kind of
I know. But I don't mind Patrick Ewing, but his career was wasted by Jeff Van Gundy. I mean, he was a very good big man with kind of bulky knees, but a really good big man. And they never built anything around him. And no matter what they brought into town, Jeff Van Gundy, they would score 94 points a night. I mean, it was mordant as far as the offensive flow under him. And if to have him of all people sit there, here's what the Cavs should be doing offensively. It's like, Jesus.
I would have rather had Fred and Austin.
Okay.
I really would have. Wouldn't that have been nice? Then we would have been able to, hear about his knee surgery 18,000 times over the course of an hour and a half.
I can't do Fred McLeod's I can't do it anymore. I can't.
Rock the rim?
No, Fred McLeod's euphemism, like the bank is open and rubber rim and
yeah. Well, Fred McLeod, he's the king of
hyperbole, cliches.
Yeah, it's like, hey, Austin, quit elbowing me. It's like, do I have to hear this again? It's like, I have to elbow you, Fred, because my knee hurts. Did I ever tell you about my knee? It's like I'm in a time warp. Make this stop, please. Sweet Jesus. Make it stop. It's like, and it's time for a DiGiorno pizza. Make this, please, for God's sake, stop. I mean, I don't.
DiGiorno pizza.
And Fred McLeod sometimes, he says some incredible. And what he does is in the off season, his show prep is to come up with two expressions. Like 3-0. Okay, that was one year. It's like, that's the area code. I get it. And he shot a 3. It's tenuous, but I kind of understand it. This is what he does. And he comes up with one or two of them. And Austin never comes up with nothing new. I'll tell you what. Here's Austin. I'm going to do Austinisms. Tony, you're going to like this.
Oh, boy.
If you've watched enough Cavaliers games, you're going to hear this. When the Cavaliers fall behind early in the game. I'll tell you, Fred, the Pacers are feeling good about themselves. We are making them feel good about themselves. Now, if I hear that one more time, I'm going to put a gun to my head and pull the trigger. Then there's mouse in the house. You got a mouse in the house. It's like, you would know about that, Austin. Washington, D.C. Yes, there are lots of mice in houses. I mean, can we move on, please? I mean, I'm like, come up with something new, please. And
I remember growing up, wasn't it Reggae and Joe Tate? I think was who I listened to growing up.
Well, Reggae was on Fox Sports Ohio. Joe Tate was on the radio, and
those are the two that I heard, right?
The one was on the radio, one was on TV. And Michael Reggae, the problem with Michael Reggae, and actually I'm very friendly with Michael, is that Michael's a rare guy. Is that he's a play-by-play and color guy at the same time. And it really is a problem, because if you're a color guy, and not a colored guy, okay? A color guy, you got to have time to put in your little witticisms. Now, Austin is a color guy, and
he's a colored guy, but that's
and Fred is the play-by-play guy, but Michael Reggae was a play-by-play guy who also came up with all of those little things that he said, and it was hard. If you remember, we had Matt Gukas. Do you remember Matt?
God, he does the Orlando Magic games now, and I want
Fucking
to
little
strangle
bitch.
myself.
Fucking little bitch. That guy is whiny little fucker. He can't make that show. Why does he keep shooting that? Would you get rid of this guy? He's like little
Like
Timmy.
Underwood, reading from his media guide, telling you where everybody went to high school and what
Gukas
job they had when they were 16.
Gukas was not incompetent. Matt Underwood was just incompetent. Gukas was just depressing. He was just like whiny. You know, Matt Underwood is, my favorite Matt Underwoodism is, what happened?
Yeah.
It's a long drive, deep right field, then it's caught by the second base.
What happened there, Arch? I wasn't looking.
Yeah,
What
it's
the
like,
fuck were you doing?
wasn't that a strike? No, that was a ball, Matt.
It bounced behind the plate, you jack off. Yeah,
So
he's terrible.
So 2-1. No, it's 1-2.
Yeah.
You know,
Michael Regai's cool though because his vocabulary is rather superfluous, and he's usually coming up with SAT words that are extraneous on the mind, and you have so much to process while you're listening to his commentary. I like it.
What I like about Michael Regai is that he was so much like the guys I hired in radio. And you could tell that, I mean, I think he's gifted. I think he's talented. Yes. But he's also kind of full of himself. He's also got an ego. He's got.
I've heard that from other broadcasters.
A real, but he's got what I call the temperamental flair. Just like all the morning guys I would hire in the radio business, they were very talented. But man, I mean, they really had this thing that they would. I can't even explain it except that they were not easy always to work with because you always had to kind of treat him with kid gloves, that was, and I understand that. And I actually talked to Michael about it. We've laughed about it. I said, you would have worked for me in a different environment in a different time, and we'd have gotten along fine because you get what you want out of a guy like that. And you learn how to play the ropes with him. And it, somebody got sick and tired of it at the corporate level, and they got him out of town. When Gilbert came into town, he wasn't going to hold on to Michael Regai, but he was a more, and it's a shame because I would have loved to have heard Regai's call. The reggae call would be, no woman, no song. But
whamming with the right hand.
We be jamming. Jamming to the break of dawn. That's the reggae call. The reggae call of Kyrie Irving's Game 7 shot would have been something to behold. So it would have been nice, but unfortunately not. And I don't listen to the radio for the broadcast, so I don't know how that guy's doing. I don't know how well he's performing.
I don't even know who's on the radio.
Some guy named Jim Jones, from what I hear.
No, Jim Jones is the former player. No, Jim Jones is the color, Tony, the color guy. Did I ever tell you, Fred, that Jim Jones, that we would have won the championship if Jim Jones hadn't broken his foot that year? Make it stop! I've heard this too many times. It's like the guy's life is one gigantic fucking LSD flashback. I mean, it's like nothing to look forward to. Everything's going backwards. And you know what the funniest thing is when they bring in an old-time basketball player. Like I remember the one time Phil Chenier, who's a broadcaster for the Wizards. Phil Chenier is the guy who missed the last second shot at the Miracle of Richfield. All right, yeah. That's Phil Chenier. And he and Austin were going at it. And it's so funny, those guys from that generation, they wore those little short shorts when they played. And,
oh, yeah. The high socks.
Yeah, and they don't realize that the game was being played at half speed back then. They remember themselves as, and Phil Schooner's like, I'll tell you something, Austin Carr could just shoot that rock, and he was really awesome. He could get a shot off anyone on the floor out there today. And I'm like, nah. And Austin's like, that's probably true if my knee hadn't given in. God damn.
I like it when the old timers come up to the booth when I'm watching the Indians game and they start reminiscing with Uncle Rick, and then Matt chimes in with some stupid question, and you can just hear the disgust in their voices when they're talking to him. Like, who asked you? Who invited you up here? Why are you talking, little boy? I just love it. And it's the same stories over and over. And every year around my birthday, I get to hear about him making the final catch from Lenny Barker's perfect game. And I love that stuff. It's fun to listen to because it never gets old. It keeps happening over and over.
I'm being asked in the chat room, Moo, do you prefer a turtleneck or a dickie? And the answer is I don't like either because I don't like my throat constricted. I don't care.
Oh,
I don't either. I don't like anything touching my neck ever, especially hair or a collared shirt. I can't do it.
I had the same thing happen to me today. It was like Dickie V is live on Periscope. All right.
Oh gosh, doing what? Cleaning up his Christmas wrapping?
No, I'm going to tell you because I tuned in. I'm going to do it for you. I'm going to do it for you. It's really awesome. Baby. Okay. I'm going to kind of talk like this now because Dickie V no longer has any real enthusiasm in his voice. And he's walking through his home and he goes, it's the time of the season. You can pick up your Dickie V merchandise. And he's hawking his merchandise on Periscope. Honest to God. I'm not making this up. And it's like, the Dickie V bobblehead, it speaks 8 different things, you know. It's like,
oh, no.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there going, wow. I mean, how the mighty have fallen. I mean, this is like really, you know, it's like.
He refuses to let it go, huh?
Well, no, and his thing is, it's like, and if you buy it, you know, the proceeds are going to the Dickie V Foundation so that somebody else will die of cancer, you know. It's like, you know. We'll have an invited guest, and he'll die within months of the event, so you'll put in more money. And I mean, and he's roaming around his house, and what he's doing is showing his house off, you know? And it's like, my walk-in closet is bigger than your living room, baby. You know, and so he's showing you all the rooms, 47 televisions in the house, a fucking landing pad for a helicopter in the backyard, you know? So he's showing off, you know, and it's like, send me money for a Dickie V bobblehead while he's showing you this fucking mansion and you want to shoot him in the head.
Who was what was he driving slowly in front of your house? What was he riding in that he kept?
Yeah, he was riding.
What was it like some old Studebaker or something?
No. It was like
a
Mercedes. It was a Mercedes, you know. And he was like, and I was thankful that he wasn't asleep at the wheel because you know he's like, hey, look, it's Dickie V. Holy shit, he just hit a fire hydrant, you know.
You wish.
I don't know. Oh, you know, I'm back on Periscope again. I'm gonna kill myself here. These Mrs. Paul's fish fillets are really good. You just pop them in the microwave and they come out in 25 seconds and they're nice and crunchy. This is what we've come to. It's like Dickie V. It's like, and that's why I wear Skechers. Please, come on, make it go away. And these messages. This is my fucking phone. This fucking phone. Dickie V is live on Periscope again. Jesus Christ! It's like Bluebell ice cream. It's the best strawberry ice cream I've ever eaten. It's like, please. You're
the Hub Around commercial in a couple of years. He'll be doing the Medical Mutual or whatever the life insurance things and all the commercials that you see during daytime television when I'm watching Price is Right. That's gonna be what he's doing next. He's gonna throw a baby into every other word, and all people are gonna be like, "Who the hell is this guy?" No clue.
What's gonna happen to me eventually? I mean, what's happening? It pops up on your screen. Dickie V is live on Periscope.
Why do you get these notices? What did you do? Did you subscribe?
I signed up for Periscope. Yeah, I signed up for Periscope, and it's like Dickie V is live on Periscope, and it's like I made the mistake of once checking him out, and now every time he's on, it pops up on my screen, and I can't make it go away. But now I want to tune in just to see what pathetic thing, you know. It's like,
can you interact with him while he's live? Can you like type things?
It's like, you know, hey, I like beefaroni too. I mean, what am I going to say to him? I'll tell you, for a can, it's not bad. You know, I mean, you know.
I might have to get Periscope on my phone just so I can mess with people who put up stupid live broadcasts.
No, well, of course, they can end up. Of course, he probably doesn't know how to cancel somebody. But I mean, people are sitting there going, "You're the greatest, Dickie V. You're the greatest," you know.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, and you know.
And he's so great. Where is he during the Final Four? Oh, March Madness. What? Yeah.
I wanted to type in Viagra or Cialis. I don't know, man.
goodness.
Well, we're out of here. It's four after 7. I've picked on I've destroyed Patrick Ewing. I'm destroying Dick Vitale. It's a horrible thing. But, to have to sit there and hear him hawking his bobbleheads. I mean, and you know what the sad part of it is?
What?
The bobblehead is of a much younger Dickie V. So,
of course.
Yeah, because those bobbleheads probably have been sitting in a warehouse for 25 years. And they overproduce them, and he's got to get rid of them somehow. So he's hawking them on Periscope. And it's like, that doesn't even look like you anymore. It's like, well, I can't put wrinkles in plastic, you Jew. It's like, okay, you're probably right about that. You're probably right. Oh, God almighty.
Racist bastard.
And you never see Mrs. Dickie V either. You never see her. You never see her.
What's she like? Is she?
I don't know. I've
never met her.
Nope, never met her before. But when he was driving, actually, the greatest thing is that they're going to make those cars that drive themselves, so he can fall asleep at the wheel. And the car's driving itself, and Dickie V. Hey, look, it's Dickie V.
Where am I, baby?
This thing's programmed for me to get home. All right, let's get out of here. Tony is sleeping, and
I'm just.
You must have finished. I see what you're doing over there, Tony. Dirty white boy.
It's 6 after 7. I got to eat my dinner, and I got to watch the Cavs. Okay.
LeBron is out tonight, resting.
Yeah, well, and that's fair. And Kyrie's minutes will be limited, and it's all good. We'll lose to the Pistons, but we won the one that mattered. So fuck it. Yeah. All right. So thanks everybody for tuning in to this edition of Moohead Radio. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Tony.
Bye.
Talk to you all soon. Bye.
See you Wednesday. Bye.
We'll be back Wednesday for the next edition of Moohead Radio. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.